was the weakest link in the band Motley Crue? Let's talk about it. Alright, so for a lot of you, the answer is going to jump up right to the top of the list. It's going to be Vince Neil. I know this because I put up a video on Vince Neil quite a while back, and there was a lot of hate for Vince that came out in the comments section. But for right now, we're going to go down the list of Motley Crue members one by one to determine which one was the weakest link. So let's start off with the rhythm section of Nikki Sixx and Tommy Lee. First of all, Nikki Sixx is the visionary behind the band in terms of its image, in terms of its lyrics, in terms of its songs. So without Nikki Sixx, you really couldn't have Motley Crue. So I think it's safe to say that while he's not an accomplished bass player, he's not the world's greatest musician, and he doesn't sing, and he doesn't have a lot of stage charisma or anything like that, he is exempt from being the weakest link because he is the foundational point of the band. Now, Tommy Lee, in my opinion, is one of the greatest heavy rock drummers that ever lived. I think that you can find corroboration from this if you listen to people like Tom Werman, who is Motley Crue's producer on a couple albums, including Shout at the Devil and Girls, Girls, Girls. He would tell you that Tommy Lee was one of the best drummers that he ever worked with in the studio, and that he was a professional, and that he was interested in, pushing the drum parameters as far as they could and finding new things, and he was willing to work and willing to learn. And on top of that, he was a great showman on the drums, and well, it's possible you could have put another glam metal drummer into Motley Crue and they could have got by. I think Tommy Lee is a really, really important part of the Motley Crue engine, so I'm gonna call Tommy Lee also is not the weakest link. Now, let's move on to Mick Mars, the guitar player. So Mick Mars is kind of unusual in terms of heavy rock guitarist in that he's not known for his soloing, he's not known for his technique, he is not known for inventing things that go along with the guitar. There's no Franken Strat that's going to go into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with Mick Mars' name on it. And on the early Crue albums, the guitar was anything but distinctive, just sort of filled a space as they went along. And according to Tom Werman, again the producer, Mick Mars was able to get a pretty good guitar tech in to help him develop a better tone, and he got to be a better studio musician over time. And he wasn't a very influential in terms of songwriting. He wasn't a big power in the band when it comes to writing riffs or melodies or coming up with new ideas. Alright, so this leaves Vince Neil, the much debated Vince Neil. If we're talking about Vince Neil now and how he sounds live, it's no contest. He's a weak link. He can barely sing, and he doesn't seem to really care about whether he can sing. If we're talking about Vince Neil back in the day, I feel that his voice was not only perfect for Motley Crue, but that they had a different singer in there, the band's character would have changed so much that they would have no longer had that really important rebelliousness to them. That I understand that Vince Neil didn't, initiate that image, or he didn't write the lyrics, but he did a good job of embodying it and pushing it forward. And in addition to this, Motley Crue's, for better or worse, is known as much for their partying and, hell-raising as they are for their music. And if you take Vince Neil out of the equation, you lose some of that aspect. You lose a lot of that animal, tear-it-down aspect. So I'm going to go ahead and call Mick Mars the weak link of Motley Crue. And it's not just because he wasn't a songwriter and just because he's not that technical of a guitar player. I feel like he was the one person that you could have replaced in the band without essentially changing its character. You could have gotten someone in there to play just a basic heavy guitar and not solo that much. Any of the 80s circa guitar players who had been willing to do so, who had been willing to approach it from a minimalist standpoint, could have done so, and they might have even done a better job. So anyway, that's what I think, and I'd like to know what you think. So if you have a thought on this or any other topic connected to classic or contemporary music, please comment in the section below, and remember to like and subscribe. Thanks a lot.